Cool. All right. Rinker 1978 says, I have a 20-year-old stepson who just had a son. He has a part-time job and a girlfriend that has no job and lives with us. He has no desire to elevate. Any advice for a frustrated stepdad?
He's how old, the kid?
20.
He's 20 years old? Well, here's what I would do. I would say, hey, pal, you're 20 years old. In 90 days, you're going to need to start paying rent for living here, and you need to also contribute to this household. Good news is it's 90 days, and the better news is I'm here to help you get a job. I'm here to build the skills you need to get a job, and I will do whatever it takes to help you get there. And when you get a job and you pay me rent, I will save that rent money until it adds up to enough for you to move out in the next 12 months, 24 months. And if he says, no, I don't want to do that, I'm just going to live here for free because you're married to my mom, because that's a stepson, right?
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem. We need to go back and like, how did you get yourself in this situation, bro? Right? Like, why are you stepsonning? Like, and if you were going to do that, and all of you, if you're like, oh yeah, man, I'm with this chick and she's got 3 kids, guess what? It all sounds fine when you guys are getting it on and you're like, your kids will be my kids, all that shit. But then when you're like, hey, your kid's 20 years old now and he needs to move out, she's like, no, that's my baby. My baby's going to stay. So y'all should have gotten on the same page when you were in the honeymoon phase, when you guys were swapping spit, when you guys were trading juices. At some point, you should have been like, hey, can we stop bumping uglies for a second and talk about these 3 kids that you have? I'll treat them as my own, but can we both agree that when they're 18 or 19 or 20, like if they're not functioning members of society and they're not paying rent, they're not pulling their weight, we got to do something about it. We got to be a unified front. And then she might be like, no, that's not going to happen. Then cool, peace out, baby. On the flip side, she's like, you know what? Thank you. That's a great plan. Awesome. Now we're a unified front. 10 years later, when this kid is 20 years old, you go, hey, remember that conversation? I'm about to go have that conversation with him. Thanks for being on the same page with me and having my back, mom. But you didn't have that conversation with mom, so go have that conversation with mom now. And if you guys are on the same page, execute, execute, execute.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate real quick. So let's say that he did have that conversation with her, but because when they were doing their thing, she was all going. They're in that, just like you said, when they're knocking boots, he might not have his mind in the right spot. But what if it's the same for her? And she was telling him, yeah, you could tell him whatever. I don't care if you discipline him. He's 20 years old now. You can, be his actual dad. Tell him whatever you need to. Be tough on him. But now it's changing. Let's say that happens. What do you do there?
Then I would just relieve the relationship. To me, it's a breach of contract. It's a social contract that we just had, right? So if I shake your hand, I'm like, Leighton, blah, 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 we're going to be 50-50 partners. You go, yes. Even though we didn't write anything, I'm a man, you're a man. We just have a gentleman's social contract. If I go back on it, you should bounce. If you go back on it, I'm bouncing. And so I know it's hard, man, but that's what needs to happen. Or you just have to suck it up and deal with it, friend, which means you're going to end up resenting that child and the mom, which means it's all going to crumble to shit anyway.
Yeah.